The time has come. After 320,000 miles, well, we need to do a little work on the 7.3 Powerstroke. Now, this is a 2001 Ford F350, and the water pump has started to leak on the bottom of the weep hole, which means it's time to change the water pump. Now, I personally like the Gates brand, and that is the brand of water pump that I'm going to use. A lot of you diehard people are probably going to want to go OEM, or you have other favorite brands, but the procedures is going to be exactly the same. Now, right out of the box, at least for the Gates brand, you're going to have everything you need to do this job, minus the tools, and we'll talk about those in a bit. You have all of your gaskets, and the one thing I like about the Gate gaskets that come, at least with this kit, is they have these little notches in them, and these notches help you kind of press it down into the gap, and it stays in place. It just makes it easier to install, so you're not constantly fighting the seal. If you have a round gasket, you can use a little ATV silicone and glue it on in places. Some people use a little bit of grease, but whatever works for you. I personally like these little notches because it works for me. Now, the very first thing you're going to need to do is drain the radiator fluid, and the best way to do that is just to loosen the cap up. And on the driver's side bottom corner of the radiator, you will find a plug that you can loosen up. And right there is your drain plug, and I'm going to tell you these things hold a little bit over 8 gallons of fluid, so be prepared to capture it all. And you need to remove both the upper radiator hose and the bottom radiator hose. Remove the belt. I like to use a ratchet. I kind of have a funny ended farm ratchet down here, but it gets the job done. Basically pull it towards you. That will loosen up the belt, and you can pull the belt off by hand. To get the fan nut off the water pump, you're going to need a special tool, or at least it'll make the job a whole lot easier to do. There is a special tool in here which allows you to kind of capture the nuts on the pump and hold it still, and then you need a 47 millimeter wrench to actually loosen that nut. The nut will loosen up counterclockwise as you're looking at it from the radiator side. And this is to show you how this tool works. You're going to grab a couple of nuts down there by that fan, and this will allow you to hold this part still while you use one of those wrenches and back that nut off. A lot of the auto parts stores will rent you this kit, and some of them will even allow you to rent it for free. You just need to put a deposit down, and then they give you your deposit back when you return to the store. If you want to buy one, I'm going to post a link down below where I bought mine. I bought it on Amazon, and this is a gear wrench brand, and as you can see, it does a lot of different cars. You're going to set your wrenches up like this goofy looking wrench. You're going to capture 2 of the nuts on the pulley, and then you're going to take your 47 millimeter wrench, and you're going to back this nut off counterclockwise as you're looking at it from the radiator. The book will tell you to remove the shroud, the reservoir, and the fan. We're just going to take the fan and gently lay it down inside the shroud. Now, that's not recommended because you could damage your radiator, but if you're very careful, you can pull it off and save a few steps. Now you need to get the 4 bolts holding the pulley on, or 10 millimeter on my track. You might need to use that tool again to hold the pulley still. Remove the bypass hose and remove the water temperature sensor plug. At this point, you just need to remove the 9 10 millimeter bolts that hold the water pump onto the block. Now, because this style Trek has this adapter bolted onto the end of the water pump, I can't wiggle it out of here. So we're going to have to remove this, and it's just, I believe, 13 millimeter bolts, 2 of them. That'll come right off, and then we can wiggle it out this hole on this side of the track. And now it'll come right out without any issues. You need to keep and reuse the bypass fitting, the water temperature sensor, and the thermostat housing. If yours is rusted pretty bad, you might want to buy a new one of these. They're inexpensive. I'm going to clean this one up and reuse it. The bypass adapter uses an O-ring on the bottom for its seal. I'm going to steal the one off this adapter that came with the kit. There is some Teflon that goes on the bottom of the temperature sensor or any other type of sealant that you want to use, thread sealant. There's a flat O-ring that goes on the thermostat on top, and there's a smaller flat O-ring that goes right here for this adapter here. It sits inside this lip. Now you want to make sure you clean the mating surface where this water pump bolts on. I was able to use a little teeny wire brush and clean it up really well. You want to wipe all the surfaces down, make sure there's no dirt and grime on it, and then just start putting everything in reverse order as you took them out. So there's 9 bolts that go around, and you need to put those 9 bolts in. In my case, I had to put this piece on after I worked it down inside this hole right here. Not a big deal. The water pump fits without any issues, just kind of manipulating it through this hole. Then you just bolt that little piece back on. So let's get this thing bolted back up, and we'll see how she does. After you've made sure all your hose clamps are tight and you've put all your bolts in, you've checked all the torque specs on those and made sure they're to the book, you want to put the proper fluid back in, and you'll want to start your truck up and look for leaks, and hopefully, like me, you don't have any leaks, and the truck will be good for many more miles. If you like these types of videos, please like and subscribe. Take a look at some of my other videos. At the very least, you might be entertained.